These are 10 episodes where Rick Sanchez deserved to go to jail. In the very first episode of Rick and Morty, Season 1, Episode 1, titled Pilot, we're immediately thrown into the chaos that defines Rick Sanchez. The episode opens with Rick waking up Morty in the middle of the night for an unhinged mission. Drunk and rambling, Rick drags Morty onto his flying ship and announces that he's gonna drop a bomb to wipe out all life on Earth.
I had to make a bomb, Morty. I had to create a bomb.
What? A bomb?
I'm gonna drop it down there.
Giving them a clean slate to start over. Morty, who's understandably horrified, convinces Rick to land the ship. But this reckless behavior by Rick sets the tone for who Rick really is. Brilliant, but incredibly dangerous and selfish. The real trouble starts when Rick makes Morty skip school and drags him on a dangerous adventure to another dimension. Their mission? Steal rare mega seeds, which Rick plans to use for his experiments. However, these seeds are illegal, and Rick knows that they'll get flagged at interdimensional customs. To smuggle them back to Earth, Rick makes Morty hide the seeds inside his butt.
I'm gonna need you to take these seeds into the bathroom, and I'm gonna need you to put them way up inside your butthole, Morty.
In my butt?
Put them way up inside there, as far as they can fit.
Oh, jeez, Rick.
And then when they end up going through customs, things quickly go south, when the two are almost caught by the customs officers.
He's got to go through the new machine.
What new machine?
It's a new machine. It detects stuff all the way up your butt.
Triggering a tense escape sequence where Rick tells Morty to shoot at the officers. Horrified by what happens after he shoots one,
They're not robots, Rick!
Rick gives him assurance.
It's a figure of speech, Morty. They're bureaucrats. I don't respect them. Just keep shooting, Morty.
After they barely make it out with the seeds, they start to affect Morty's nervous system, leaving him in agony and barely able to walk. Morty even begins foaming at the mouth, while Rick brushes it all off.
www.rickandmorty.com www.rickandmortyadventures all 100 years. Every minute, rickandmorty.com.
Rick's actions in the pilot are not just reckless, they're outright criminal. First, he coerces his underage grandson into participating in interdimensional drug trafficking. Using a child to transport illegal substances is not just exploitive, it's a serious crime. Additionally, Rick's behavior clearly qualifies as child endangerment. He willingly puts Morty in harm's way, knowing the seeds are physically dangerous, and then shows zero remorse when they cause Morty trauma. If this situation existed in real life, Rick would face charges for both child abuse and trafficking of illegal substances. Putting your own grandson at serious risk of harm may be crazy, but what about completely destroying the entire Earth? Next up, we have Season 1, Episode 6, Rick Potion number 9, where Rick's reckless behavior hits a new low, creating one of the series' most devastating outcomes. The episode begins with Morty asking Rick for a love potion to make his crush Jessica fall in love with him during the flu season dance.
Could you make some sort of chemical thing happen inside of Jessica's mind? You know, so where she falls in love with me and all that sort of thing?
Although Rick initially warns him that love potions are tricky, he gives in and creates a serum using Morty's DNA, which will make anyone obsessed with him. However, things quickly spiral out of control. Since Jessica has the flu, the potion spreads through the air, infecting the entire school and making everyone desperately in love with Morty. Which may sound like a teenage boy's wish, but even his own teachers are in love with him. Creepy. As the infection spreads throughout the town, Rick tries to fix things by introducing other genetic components into the mix.
I whipped up an antidote. It's based on praying mantis DNA.
But each of Rick's attempts only make things worse, as he accidentally mutates the entire population of Earth into grotesque monsters called Cronenbergs.
Well, sometimes science is more art than science, Morty. A lot of people don't get that.
Instead of taking responsibility for what he's done, Rick gives up on fixing the problem.
How could you be so irresponsible, Rick?
You're the one who wanted me to buckle down and make you up a roofie juice serum. You're a little creep, Morty.
You gotta fix this, Rick.
All right, Morty.
And in the ultimate act of selfishness, he decides to abandon the ruined Earth entirely, and takes Morty with him to an alternate dimension where another version of Rick successfully solved the crisis. But not before they witness their alternate selves die in a lab accident while doing so.
We got 1 screw turn, and 2 screw turns, and...
Without skipping a beat, Rick and Morty take the place of their dead counterparts, bury their own bodies in the backyard, and resume life as if nothing happened. Rick's actions in this episode are nothing short of catastrophic. First and foremost, creating a love potion that manipulates someone's free will is both ethically and legally unacceptable. If we apply real-world standards, Rick would face charges for biological terrorism for releasing an untested, hazardous substance that endangers the public. Now, destroying the entire world might be crazy.
Boy, Morty, I really Cronenberged the world up, didn't I?
But how about destroying the fabric of space and time? In Season 2, Episode 1, A Rickle In Time, Rick's recklessness pushes the boundaries of space, time, and reality itself. The episode begins with Rick, Morty, and Summer having frozen time around them for 6 months to avoid dealing with the consequences of the destruction a party which they hosted caused. When Rick attempts to unfreeze time, things go horribly wrong.
Don't touch your parents or we could shatter into countless theoretical shards.
Wait a minute,
and
what?
Away we go!
Because of the instability in the timeline caused by their careless actions, reality begins to split into conflicting timelines, creating parallel versions of the same events happening simultaneously. Rick warns Morty and Summer to stay calm and synchronized to avoid fracturing reality further, but their anxiety causes the timeline to splinter into even more parallel realities. As things escalate, Rick tries to repair the broken timelines by syncing their fractured realities back together. Matters reach a peak when a cosmic being called the Time Cop appears to help them fix time,
Yes! We're back!
but then decides as well to punish them with prison time for tampering with the flow of time, as well as for stealing a time-freezing crystal.
Well, I don't know where you expect me to think you got that crystal over there.
You stole a time-freezing crystal from testicle monsters?
So Rick responds with fracturing time yet again and beating up the cop. At one point, the only way to save Morty is for Rick to sacrifice himself by staying behind in a doomed timeline. For a brief moment, it looks like Rick has finally done something noble, only for him to reveal that he's not giving up, as he sees his own device which can fix this timeline floating in the void, and fights his way back to survival at the last second. Rick's selfishness and lack of regard for universal laws and the safety of others demonstrate that Rick isn't just a brilliant scientist, he's a public menace. For the things he does in this episode, such as endangering the entire timeline, as well as assaulting a time cop, he absolutely deserves to be locked away. He as well especially deserves it after his actions in Season 2, Episode 6, The Ricks Must Be Crazy, where he enslaves an entire civilization. The episode begins with Rick, Morty, and Summer unable to fly to an ice cream shop in Rick's spaceship because it's run out of power. Rick then reveals to Morty that his car battery is not just an ordinary battery. It contains an entire mini-universe populated by sentient beings who are unknowingly enslaved to generate electricity for Rick's ship. Determined to fix the battery, Rick and Morty shrink down and enter it. While inside, Rick realizes that they now have developed their own technologies and even their own energy source independent of Rick.
Our most brilliant scientist, Zeep Zanflop, has developed a source of energy that makes Google boxes obsolete.
I would love to see it.
This is the reason why the battery isn't working. However, Rick feels threatened by this self-sufficiency and demands to talk to the scientist responsible for this new technology. While talking to Zeep the scientist, Rick discovers that he also has his own small civilization of people working as slaves. This leads to a power struggle that spirals out of control because of Zeep realizing Rick is doing the same with his reality and enslaving his people.
Wait a minute. Did you create my universe? Is my universe a miniverse?
Microverse!
What the hell is happening?
As Rick and Zeep battle for dominance while trying to be the first to escape back to the main universe, Rick ends up beating up Zeep and escaping. But the original problem of Rick's battery not working shouldn't be solved then, right? Actually, no, because Rick knew that Zeep knew that if Rick's battery wasn't working because of his civilization using new power sources, that Rick would destroy the car battery, ultimately leading to the death of Zeep and his entire world.
He knew that once I got back to my car, one of two things was gonna happen. I was gonna have to toss a broken battery, or the battery wouldn't be broken.
While Rick is ultimately able to regain control of his battery, he does so at the expense of countless lives, leaving the inhabitants suffering and enslaved. Rick's actions in this episode highlight a blatant disregard for morality and ethics, making a strong case for his imprisonment. I mean, he literally enslaves an entire civilization to generate energy for his own convenience. This is completely illegal, as these beings have no choice but to comply with Rick's demands if they want to survive. Now, before we get into the next episode, if you're enjoying the video so far, then be sure to leave a like as well as subscribe to the channel. Now to talk about the next episode, Season 2, Episode 10, The Wedding Squanchers. This episode opens with Rick and the family attending the wedding of Bird Person and Tammy, a significant character in the Rick and Morty universe. The episode quickly descends into chaos as Rick's past catches up with him. While the wedding ceremony unfolds, it's revealed that Tammy is actually an undercover agent working for the Galactic Federation.
In a lot of ways, what I really am is a deep cover agent for the Galactic Federation, and you guys are a group of wanted criminals, and this entire building is, in a certain sense, surrounded.
This is obviously a threat to Rick, as he's a wanted man. When Rick realizes Tammy's true identity, he takes immediate action to protect himself. In a chaotic sequence, he attempts to fight the Federation agents who crashed the wedding, leading to a full-blown battle. In the end, Rick's relentless pursuit of self-preservation leads to the destruction of the wedding and the deaths of several characters, leading to Rick and his family having to flee their home and find a new place to live.
How many planets in the Milky Way are at least 90% similar to Earth?
3.
Maybe we should go check out the other two, huh? Everything's on a cob! The whole planet's on a cob! Go, go, go!
If this scenario occurred in the real world, Rick would face serious charges, including things such as manslaughter for the lives lost and the damage caused. Manslaughter may be crazy, but how about toppling an entire galactic government? In Season 3, Episode 1, The Rickshank Rickdemption, the episode opens with Rick imprisoned in the Galactic Federation's high-security facility, where he faces brutal interrogation where the Federation is infiltrating his mind. To escape, Rick employs his genius, manipulating the guard's mind control system and transfers his own consciousness into one of the guards. Rick's escape plan takes a dark turn as he continues to transfer his consciousness through a hierarchy of alternate versions of himself, until he's gained the security clearance which allows him the power to completely destroy the Galactic Federation base by teleporting the Citadel of Ricks into it, causing further chaos and destruction. This leads to a series of violent confrontations, showcasing Rick's brutal methods. He demonstrates no remorse as he eliminates anyone who stands in his way, treating lives as mere obstacles to his freedom. Things are already chaotic, but only get even more insane as Rick topples the entire galactic government by changing the value of the central currency to 0. Imagine if all your own money suddenly became completely worthless out of nowhere.
There's a solution here you're not seeing.
It definitely makes sense why this heightened the chaos. Rick's behavior in the Rickshank Rickdemption is a prime example of his utter disregard for morality and human life. His escape from the Galactic Federation involves brutality, manipulation, and murder, clearly demonstrating that he views others as expendable. His actions could be classified as terrorism against the Federation, as he systematically dismantles their operations without concern for collateral damage. Now for many people's favorite episode of Rick and Morty, Season 3, Episode 3, Pickle Rick. The episode opens with Rick transforming himself into a pickle to avoid going to family therapy.
I'm Pickle Rick!
Completely valid. This seemingly humorous choice leads to unexpected chaos, when Rick accidentally tumbles into a sewer. From here, he must navigate a treacherous world filled with rats. Demonstrating his resourcefulness, he crafts a pair of makeshift robotic limbs from the bodies of dead rats, turning himself into a weaponized creature. Meanwhile, Morty and Summer reluctantly attend therapy with their mother, Beth, who struggles with her complex feelings about Rick's influence on their lives. As they delve into their emotional trauma, the episode draws a stark contrast between Rick's escapism and the family's need for connection and healing. Things escalate when, while traveling through the sewers, Rick ends up in the base of a secret Russian organization. In a violent showdown, he takes down numerous guards with little regard for the collateral damage that he inflicts.
It transferred the bottle from the trash to the recycling bin.
And ends up purposely blowing up the entire facility at the end of it.
Farewell, Solenia.
Rick's actions in this episode underscore his reckless behavior and lack of accountability. His violent rampage through the Russian base results in multiple deaths, showcasing his willingness to resort to extreme measures for personal gain. If evaluated by real-world standards, Rick would face serious charges for murder and destruction of property. Surprisingly though, Rick's actions which lead him to deserve jail time can be even more humorous than turning himself into a pickle. In Season 4, Episode 2, The Old Man in the Seat, Rick becomes obsessed with tracking down the person who used his personal secret toilet. Rick had designed the toilet to be a private escape on a distant, beautiful planet, but he discovers someone else has used it without his permission. Enraged by the violation, Rick launches a relentless investigation to identify the culprit. Eventually, he discovers that the intruder is an alien named Tony, who thought nothing of using the toilet and simply saw it as an open opportunity.
I believe this is yours. Where do you want to die?
His refusal to accept peace with Tony leads to unnecessary emotional manipulation and cruelty. Rather than simply confronting Tony and moving on, Rick takes things too far and creates elaborate traps and holograms to torment Tony emotionally if he happens to come back to the toilet, showing his deeply petty nature.
There he is! There's our guy! Congrats, Tony! Have fun with your stupid toilet that you get to use all by yourself now!
If his actions were judged in the real world, Rick would be held accountable for harassment. Additionally, Rick abuses his advanced technology to stalk and monitor Tony without his consent, which would be illegal surveillance and invasion of privacy. I guess you could say all of this is pretty crappy stuff to do to Tony. Next up, we have the time Rick infiltrated his own friend's mind. In Season 5, Episode 8, Rickternal Friendshine of the Spotless Mort, Rick embarks on a highly personal mission to revive his old best friend, Bird Person. Bird Person was badly injured and left in a coma following the events of a prior battle, the one that we talked about earlier in Wedding Squanchers. Using advanced technology, Rick ventures into Bird Person's subconscious mind to repair his memories and bring him back to life. Inside Bird Person's mind, Rick encounters fragmented memories of their friendship, their participation in the Galactic Federation War, and Bird Person's inner turmoil about their relationship.
The relationship that we have
I never used that word.
is not worth my
Oh
integrity.
my god.
During this journey, Rick faces resistance from younger subconscious versions of Bird Person, who hold resentment towards Rick's selfish behavior. Eventually, Rick uncovers the truth. Bird Person chose not to be revived earlier because of Rick's emotional manipulation and tendency to drag him into destructive situations. Despite this, Rick refuses to give up, forcing Bird Person to confront his painful memories in order to save him. And eventually, Bird Person agrees to return to the real world, though Rick's friendship with him remains a little strained.
Weird way to thank me for discovering your kid.
You did not know of the child when you came to rescue me, and once aware, refrained from sharing until necessary to save yourself.
If held accountable for his actions in this episode, Rick could face charges for unqualified medical practice and violating Bird Person's personal autonomy. Now for the thrilling Season 5 finale, Episode 10, Rickmurai Jack. In this episode, Rick confronts the dark past of his actions as he battles the Citadel, a powerful organization consisting of alternate versions of himself and Morty. The episode kicks off with a high-stakes mission gone bad, thrusting Rick and Morty into a chaotic conflict with alternate versions of themselves. The stakes are raised when Rick's past choices come back to haunt him, revealing deep-seated emotional issues that have been long ignored.
You can't outrun your past, Rick. Did you think my force field would be down the second time?
I was expressing disapproval of your dialogue.
His relentless pursuit of vengeance leads to explosive confrontations and high casualties of Rick's and Morty's, illustrating the collateral damage of his chaotic lifestyle. Throughout the episode, Morty struggles with feelings of betrayal as he realizes that Rick views him as a mere tool in his quest for revenge, exposing the toxic dynamic in their relationship.
That's what makes me evil, being sick of him. If you've ever been sick of him, you've been evil too.
The episode forces Rick to confront the emptiness of his victories and the toll his actions have taken on Morty and others. Rickmurai Jack is an exploration of the complications between power, identity, and family, reminding the audience that even the most brilliant minds can be deeply flawed. This episode serves as a very powerful reflection of Rick's character.
And he's attached to us infinitely through his weakness and our forgiveness. This is why we're with him.
And Rick definitely deserves jail time because of all the destruction his want for revenge causes, leading to the deaths of many. This list has definitely reinforced how truly bad Rick is as a character, considering all the crazy things he's done, which definitely deserve jail time. Which thing in this list sticks out to you the most? Let me know in the comments below. As well, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.